Extra extra, read all about it! Welcome to the Empires Recap, and today we will be going over the chaos and drama of our somewhat respected rulers. Princess Katherine is having some magical fun back in Glimmer Grove, with her cat mysteriously reproducing asexually. We love queer cats. These two cats are just the start of Katherine's animal collecting today, as she creates a farm for both plants and animals. She even finds a donkey. What an asset! Katherine admits she may need some help with the Empire, leading to a request to find the fairies. Getting directions from a friendly goblin, she's able to find a pink sheep, which she carries home with her. This 0.164% luck helps Katherine quickly find a pillager outpost where the fairies are being held captive. Under the cover of dark, she transforms. Wait, no. Sorry guys, wrong one. After transforming into her more battle-active form, Katherine rescues the fairies and then builds them a small but spacious home.
Redoes to blaze powder, Shelby wants to build a potion shop. Ambitious, but nothing is too much for Miss Witch. She spends some time preparing to go to the Nether before a visitor comes across her land. Pixlriffs comes to give her a gift and trade some potion ingredients for some mangrove propagules. And then the time has come for the trip to the Nether. Shelby mentions her worries as they told her to keep it simple, stick to simple spells. She believes in herself, and you know what? I believe in her too. She soon finds a nether fortress and intends to build up a real blaze farm, pressure plates and buttons and things, collecting a few blaze rods and then getting the hell out of there.
Grandma would never believe this.
We get to see the new large mushroom she declares to be her potion shop. She hopes to get her potions brewing soon, and maybe build a bigger house or even a witch tower. Speaking of things brewing, here's what Pix has been up to recently.
Mangrove in hand, Pix finally starts his first proper build, even if it's still not a starter home. The Savannah ruins are a beautiful mess of what feels like half the blocks in the game. That's why he needed so many different farms. His first experience with Litematica is a success, and even has a place in his lore. It's a wristwatch that makes holographic projections of the past. Handy for an archaeologist. And the ruins may be small now, but they won't stay that way for long.
And what I want is for this whole thing to turn into a kind of ancient capital that is just going to have fallen into ruins over time.
Pix both loses and regains an elytra off-screen, and he's going to need it for his next mission, setting up a froglight farm in the Nether. A beacon would help with that, so finding a fortress with good wither skeleton spawning potential is priority 1. He's a real Goldilocks about it being just the right biomes, but he finds one that does the trick for now, and might make a good farm in the future. While he's there, Pix gets the skulls for his first wither, which he takes down to a strip mine he makes far away from both his base and any signs of the deep dark, though now the seed of a wither versus warden match is planted in our heads. He takes it down with ease, grabbing the diamonds it mined for him as well as the nether star, and already there's a beacon shining out of the old Savannah ruins.
From historian to Scrunkly in the basement, fWhip's video goes way off track immediately, as he finds a double skeleton spawner deep in his mine. He sets up a bone and experience farm and a rather amazing mine entrance, with the hope of luring, welcoming, other rulers to the underground. Totally not to scam them, no. With his new business venture and tunnel digging being rather, shady, he decides to get on the good side of the law by attempting to befriend Jimmy. A few bones and a bit of banter later, and he might have his first alliance. Seeing as most of his kingdom will be pretty deep and far from surface resources, it's probably for the best that he makes some friends. This doesn't, of course, stop him from tunneling under the literal god's fountain and badly covering up the hole. Let's hope that doesn't come back to bite him later.
The sheriff starts off his day by showing us his new horses and new billboard of people who respect him. fWhip gained his place on the board through some subtle bribery. They form an alliance for when Jimmy sets up his gunpowder farm. Jimmy decides to set up his town in a bowl near his wagon. It's a very large hole surrounded on all sides by mountains of terracotta, and settles on the name Tumbletown. He time-lapses himself building the first building in the newly named empire, credit to Mystical Sausage for the build. Princess Gem then messages him to go on a mining trip together.
Lizzie?
What makes you a princess?
I sorta just decided to be one. What makes you a sheriff?
I sorta just decided to be one too, I think.
They end up stumbling upon the deep dark and running away from several mobs and the warden. During his brave protection of the princess, he unfortunately dies to a creeper. She brings back his stuff, including his sheriff's hat. Gem gets added to the Respect the Sheriff board, and they solidify an alliance through Honeycomb before he travels home.
Princess Gem starts her episode with a bit of mining. She gathers together enough diamonds for an enchanting table and builds her empire's enchanting setup, on a rocky island near her village. She builds up a path connecting her lovely little docks with the rocky island, and a small bridge to help cross the water travelling to the island. She then spots a strange fire in the cave nearby. The fire turns out to be wisps like the ones from Brave. She follows them to find a small ruin with a banner that looks very sunny for being a cave. Gem collects it and decides to use the banner as a symbol of her empire, which she then puts on the newly built bridge.
Maybe the wisps are onto something. Maybe they're leading me to something. Something important.
Sausage turns up at her empire and she trades honeycomb for a goat horn and a mending book. Then it's time to build a lighthouse. She time-lapses the creation of a sort of rustic, medieval-looking but bright lighthouse that covers up her enchanting table, so it isn't out on the rocks. She does some basic enchants on her armour, you never know what will save your life, and a few minutes are spent decorating the interior of her lighthouse, adding carpets and flowers throughout. It's time to make a name for her empire. Gem names her empire Dawn, the dawn of a new era. Another new era is also coming up for
Lizzie.
Come along now, child.
Get your adorable little fluffy butt in there.
As the shenanigans with Lizzie and the animals continue, her friendly goblin neighbor pops up out of nowhere and convinces her to go to his totally safe goblin empire to see his double skeleton spawner. Lizzie's death and arrows in her can confirm that this was totally not a scam. She then goes to make a crystal mine so she can get access to the farm. After forgetting the 2 emeralds in her inventory and getting lost on her way, she wasted absolutely no resources. After having decorated her mine exit and built a minecart system, obtaining a minister and a deputy minister of transport, she can finally get the key to the skeleton farm from fWhip. But this whole series of events was completely useless as she has no use for bones.
I may have just been scammed.
After recovering from this, she decides to build her first true building of her empire, a community center. But being Lizzie, of course, she breaks 53 stone shovels terraforming for her new build, all while listening to the beautiful song Ariana Gote made for her. After meeting with Scott
Thank you very much, colourful man that is lonely and lives alone here in Chromia. Goodbye.
and Katherine
So many naked sheep.
Oh yes, aren't they beautiful?
for the missing material needed, she can officially start building. After 7,396 blocks were placed, multiple stone shovels broken, and discovering a cheat and 4 deaths, the community center is now open with a lot of empty space inside. But at least something that isn't empty inside is Scott's heart. Scott's plan this episode is to build a barn, before bringing us over to his newly discovered skeleton spawner. This is incredibly useful as his export this season is color, so he'll need all the bone meal he can get to grow those flowers. He also declares his new distaste for poppies. We see you, Scott. We see you. He gets to work on a barn design he found from Blue Nerd Minecraft that he tweaked to fit in better. He quickly sleeps before heading over to the build. After a barn building time lapse, he brings his animals to the barn and starts work on a decorative wheat field. It's not so decorative when you use it as a major food source, but we'll just go with it. Last episode, he met his best friend, a llama. We learn that there are lore reasons for his love of the creatures. He finds a llama to take back home and then does some research to see where he can find more llamas. He comes home with 2 llamas and 1 cow. There was another cow, but it fell off a bridge. It was a perilous journey. He forcefully makes friends with his llamas and gives them colored carpets representative of his kingdom. Yellow, magenta, and cyan. The same ones my printer uses. Until he bred more of them, and now there are the full color of the rainbow. Or a certain flag. He then shows us his skeleton farm and time-lapses himself building a cute windmill to cover up the access, which of course is on theme as it is the most colorful windmill in the lands, before spending a little longer than a few minutes filling the land around it with several different flower fields and a path to link his empire together. An important decision has been made for the empire, and that is its name. Scott announces the new name of his empire is Chromia, the Color Kingdom, the tagline being a kingdom to die for. Get it? Die, like D-Y-E. Thank you, random Twitch user, for that. Coincidentally, he also has heterochromia. It just makes sense. He picks some more colors for his llama collection, less colorful than he would like, but colors nonetheless. Or tones, if you're into color theory. One of the colors he needs to be the Color Kingdom is green, so of course it is necessary to build a small cactus farm before the end of the episode. It is very small. Speaking of small things, let's talk about Joel, our very own 11-foot god.
This week, our resident god welcomes us back by letting us know that he is tall, strong, and sexy. It seems that Sausage has returned the strange shulker child to Joel with a gift. After he points out the sad state of his base, he decides to instead work on an enchanting setup. More on that later. He constructs a small bee farm for wax, and once again reassures us that he is the tallest and strongest on the server. I'm starting to sense a pattern there. He attempts to prank Jimmy while gathering gold from the mesa. However, this plan backfires on him when he crashes into the ground. Materials acquired, he builds an enchanting island thing. We're not quite sure what that is. Complete with a floating path and trees. He then declares piglins to be the new head he's collecting this season, as his hatred for them has somehow managed to overtake his hatred of horses. While acquiring experience to enchant, he attempts to prank his neighbor, Lizzie, and returns the child to Sausage with a gift. He then goes to Lizzie's animal kingdom to acquire amethyst for his portal build, though the trade is slightly derailed by one of her foxes escaping with some of the goods. With amethyst in hand, he returns home to build his nether portal up in the air. Sausage begins his episode by finding out who the mother of the child is through Pablo the parrot. It's Smallish Beans. Sausage then proceeds to deliver the child back to him, since they share custody over it.
Where should I put our child?
After returning home from the trip, he begins to gather resources to build his animal barn, but finds he has no copper. fWhip answers his call for copper and trades him a stack for 9 mending books. Seems a little overpriced, but when you need copper, you need copper. Jimmy then wanders by in search of dark oak wood. This leads to Jimmy's entire conversation with Sausage in Spanish. Jimmy doesn't know Spanish.
¿Cómo estás usted?
Oh my god.
Gracias por venir.
Finally, with no more interruptions, he's able to start on his barn.
False Symmetry starts her episode out by going mining. She grabs enough diamonds to craft a pickaxe and starts building a portal. Once she emerges on the other side, False finds herself in a crimson forest, where she witnesses a murder and a hoglin dance, which are quite rare on Java Edition. After seeing a horrible death, False jumps back into the overworld to decorate her enchanting room and cave area. Although afterwards she decides to move the upstairs, her base is starting to come together. Throughout this episode, she states several times that she really does want to get home, and she doesn't really need a big base. Despite this, she goes on to add an iron farm and large storage space, with a unique sorting system. Taking a step back, False admires her tower and plans on making it taller so she can see everyone. While admiring her tower, she finds a dead body, with clothes suspiciously matching her theme. Who was that man? Why is False taking their clothes? Why is False so paranoid? We may never know.
False may think she's being watched, but Joey knows he is. He just hopes the Skeletrons like the view. The pirate sets out for diamonds, but mine's a bit further down than he plans and into the deep dark, and the local guardian isn't too pleased to hear an intruder. In the end, it's not the warden that gets him, just falling off a cliff, and thankfully his elytra is okay. What king of a future Neverland is complete without the perfect way to fly? After trying on a few temporary options for wings and settling on the bones of his enemies, he sets out across the sea in search of treasure, and the tools to make his wings less fragile and more magical. Returning home, he builds the first dock for his port and prepares to enchant his elytra in the ship's hold, except he doesn't have the levels. Thankfully, fWhip has a skeleton farm nearby that Joey can use, for the small price of the diamond pickaxe he just made. Sadly, Joey forgot that you can't enchant an elytra from a table, only from books. Better luck next time, Captain.
Join us next week for more chaos and shenanigans. Thank you for watching, and thanks to everyone for helping out with the project. Check them all out below.